Adobe. I'm Adobe's Senior Education Specialist for the Asia Pacific region, and it is my great pleasure to be working with the South Australian Department for Education. A number of teachers are with us live, and a number, probably a lot more, will be watching the recording of this, hopefully, because this application that we're about to dig into and enjoy is right up there as one of my favorite Adobe applications, if not one of my favorite digital applications, full stop. It's called Adobe Character Animator, and it is such a joy to work with. If you're a teacher, if you're a communicator, if you're a student, this is an incredibly powerful tool to be able to enhance your presentation potential. There you go, that's a nice way of presenting it. Now, while we're doing a bit of a preamble here about where Character Animator fits into the realm of Adobe Creative Cloud applications, I'm going to encourage everyone who's with me live at the moment to make sure you've at least downloaded Character Animator so you can play along with me. This is a workshop. I want you to be working with me, and that's how you're going to get the most out of it. Those of you watching the recording, go ahead and maybe pause at this point to download Adobe Character Animator. Now, the way that most of you will be downloading Character Animator is through your Adobe Creative Cloud desktop app. I'm just going to bring mine to the share screen. Do a search. Hopefully you've all got easy, simple access to the Adobe Creative Cloud desktop app. This is the way to manage all of your Adobe applications. If you don't have access to this, you need to talk to your IT department. It's too late now if you're live, but make sure that you do get access to this particular application. You'll notice on the desktop app, and I'll just get my little screen pointer working here, there are three sections at the top: desktop, mobile, and web. When you click on desktop, it reveals all of the desktop laptop applications, of which Character Animator is one of those. You have control as to whether you install them or uninstall them. You can open them from here. You can manage your use of the desktop apps that way. Next to desktop is mobile. When you click on mobile, you can see all the wide range of mobile applications that are available for iOS and Android. All of them are iOS, most of them are Android. And if you're interested in finding out more about them, you can click on them and learn more about them, clicking the Learn More button. If you want to download them onto your mobile device, you can send a link to your mobile device that'll point you then directly to either the Apple App Store for an iOS or the Google Play Store for an Android device. And then you can have a play and work with them. They're just wonderful tools. Character Animator is not a mobile app. It is very much a desktop laptop app. And finally, the third category is the web applications and web resources. And you can see there's a whole range of them here. We've already had sessions. In fact, this is our 6th session together with the Department for Education. If you haven't been to or seen any of the other sessions, I'm pretty sure they're easy to find. Abigail, you might want to throw in a link into the chat to encourage people to know where to go to find them. They're all housed within your environment, so I can't access them. But I give the recordings to your corporate people, and they send them out so that you get access to all of these sessions. And a number of the sessions that we ran earlier were on the incredible Adobe Spark tools, and that's how you can launch into Adobe Spark as a browser-based set of tools. On the left-hand side in the Adobe Creative Cloud desktop app is a description of lots of different categories of applications. So if you want to know what applications are available for photography, click on Photo and you can see there's Lightroom, there's Photoshop, there's Lightroom Classic. You can find out more about them, learn about them, do some tutorials and just get information about the associated apps that link and relate to photography. Graphic design, video, which Character Animator kind of fits into the video side of things. There it is there, listed as one of the video applications. Even though it says Animator, it's not strictly an animation tool. It's really a video tool. It's actually using animation to create a video solution. So it's a little bit simpler in that sense than Adobe Animate, which is a full-on frame-by-frame animation tool. Illustration, we've got Illustrator and Photoshop, two of our most popular applications used out there at the highest level of the graphic design industry, but also in primary schools all over the world. For UI and for UX, Adobe XD is fabulous tool and a great way. It's a design thinking tool. It's all about designing, prototyping, and sharing designs of apps, websites, all sorts of things. It's a really terrific tool. 3D and AR. We've got the Substance. It's a brand new set of tools that have just started to merge into the Creative Cloud. In fact, this announcement only came out today, in the last 24 hours. These brand new set of tools that are all about 3D texturing, 3D design, and it's well worth having a look at those and having a bit of a play. They're very fresh off the press. In terms of social media tools, Premiere Rush, we've had a whole session on that earlier. It is a very powerful video editing application for mobile and for laptop, desktop, and yet it's nowhere near as complicated as Premiere Pro, which is our full-on video editing solution. For paperless classrooms, Acrobat, Scan, Fill and Sign, there are solutions to try and make sure you're not using paper anymore. We have the solutions for you. And beta apps that are still in beta at the moment. Most of these have got, they're just different new versions of some of our more established apps. And if we've got a new app, it'll go into the beta section so you can have a bit of a play with as well. Various other resources that are there, well worth knowing. So hopefully you've got access to the Creative Cloud app. So you've now downloading Character Animator if you haven't already downloaded it. I'm going to play a video. I've actually played this video a few times in other sessions. So you may have seen this video before, but it gives you a good overview of what is the Adobe Creative Cloud in terms of education and how our tools are used by teachers and students all over the globe. Adobe's industry standard tools like Photoshop, Illustrator, Premiere Pro, After Effects, Animate, InDesign and Dreamweaver are vital for media, IT and arts educators in K-12 and tertiary classrooms across the globe. But these days there are a growing number of simple to use tools like Spark Video for quick and simple video stories, Spark Post for digital posters and social graphics, Spark Page for quick web pages that Adobe will host for you, Aero for augmented reality experiences, Acrobat DC for PDF manipulation, Adobe XD, a design thinking tool for designing, prototyping and sharing the designs of apps and websites, Dimension for making 3D models, Rush for powerful video editing on your mobile and desktop devices, Fresco, which is the ultimate drawing tool for the iPad and Surface Pro, Photoshop for the iPad, the new Photoshop camera, Character Animator for real-time animation, the new Illustrator on the iPad app, and more. These apps are being used by maths and science educators, English and humanities teachers, law professors, health and physical education teachers, and in any K-12 or tertiary curriculum area that is looking to add an extra level of engagement and creativity into the learning and teaching process. Get to know these apps through the Adobe Education Exchange, which is getting close to 1 million members across the globe with a wide variety of new, free online self-paced courses and resources for educators. The Adobe Education Exchange is made by teachers for teachers. It's a great way to learn how and why Adobe tools are so beneficial in all curriculum areas. It is also the gateway to the new Adobe Creative Educator program, which is a badging program designed for any educator in any curriculum area and level. You don't have to be an Adobe expert to be an Adobe Creative Educator. We do hope you enjoyed this session. Please do share what you learned today with your colleagues and wider education networks. Use this QR code or link if you would like to follow up anything that was presented during this session, or if you would like to join the Australasian Adobe in Education monthly news update. Enjoy this session. All right, so just to finish off this little preamble and giving people enough time to download Character Animator if they haven't already done so. Just to let you know that all of these applications that we just talked about then and heard in the video are available in every Victorian secondary school that's run by the government. They've centrally purchased it for every school. Every New South Wales secondary and primary school get full access. With all other systems, independent, Catholic and other government systems around Australia, it's very much not centralised. It's the school that purchases the software for the school. So you may or may not have it depending on what your school has decided. And so if you haven't got access, then it's time for you to talk to your IT department, your principal and the decision makers as to whether you think it's important. The way it works, you get Photoshop. If you've got Photoshop, you've got everything. It's a one-in-all type situation. It's not like you're just getting individual apps these days. That's why it's called the Creative Cloud. And that's worth keeping in mind. We've talked about the desktop app. We're about to jump into Character Animator now, but I'm going to pause the recording just because we're going to end up with a series of chapters. So that was chapter 1. And in the next chapter, we're going to get stuck right into Character Animator. Is Adobe Character Animator as it first opens up. And you'll notice that at the very top left-hand corner, there's a home button, there's a rig, record and stream button. Make sure you're in the home section to start with, and you'll see all these wonderful built-in puppets, built-in characters that you can work with straight away and start creating some pretty cool things. Just down the bottom right-hand corner, there's an application here. It's like a little widget that opens up called Open Characterizer. If we get time, we'll have a look at that later, but do yourself a favor and have a look at it at some point, because what it does, it actually turns your face into a puppet. So there's lots of students out there who really don't want to be in front of a camera. There's lots of teachers out there, believe it or not, who don't want to be in front of the camera. So to turn your face into a puppet, it kind of is a fun way of getting over that anxiety that a lot of people have when a camera is put in front of them. Otherwise, you can just use a totally different character. The one we're going to demo with today is this one here. I'm going to work with Dr. Applesmith. Feel free to choose any character that you want to, but if you wanted to stay and work with me, then that's the one I'm going to be working with. So I'm going to click on Dr. Applesmith right now, and as I do, he's now loading up into the system, and any second now, Dr. Applesmith will appear on the stage. Taking a little while to load, and depends how big your processor is. So he's loaded, and already he's starting to react to me, because you can see on the right-hand side that my webcam, my other webcam, the one that's built into my laptop here, is open and it's facing towards me, and I've got my microphone and my camera both on at the moment. So if I just turn them both off, what you can see is that the puppet's not moving at all, because it's totally relying, or its facial movements anyway, it's totally relying on the interaction between you and the webcam. So I'll turn on the camera. Now you can see as I move my head to the left, the puppet's moving to the left, to the right, and hopefully you're getting a similar type of experience with your puppet, whether it's Dr. Applesmith or whichever puppet you've decided to work with. To get the best possible tracking, there's a little button next to the camera called Set, Rest, Pose. If you click on that, then it starts to really track the different features of your face. In fact, if I open up that window, and you should be able to see those little tracking points. My eyebrows are being tracked, my head shape's being tracked, my mouth and my nose is being tracked as well. So if I just close that window, and so you can see there's a bit more detail. With Dr. Applesmith, you also get to turn your head slightly, and there's a little bit of reaction when you turn as well, which is nice. Dr. Applesmith was created with like a claymation type character. So he was originally built with clay and then photographed and then brought into Photoshop, and all the different layers were separated in Photoshop. So the eyes are separate layers to the mouth, and the limbs and the body are all separate layers within Photoshop. You can build your own puppets. If you know about Photoshop, you can build them in Illustrator as well. As long as you know the order of where the layers should be, if you want to get really into this and build your own characters, it is possible. I was watching a group of Year 11 students doing a subject called Visual Communication and Design. It's a Victorian subject. That's where I'm from Melbourne. And the project the girls had, it was a girls' school, was to actually design a puppet based on themselves, but by not using the widget, but actually building a puppet based on photographs and actually reworking, and it was an incredibly great project. It's going into quite a bit of depth, which we're not going to touch for this session, but it is possible to build your own puppets. Now, let's see what else we can do. If we grab the mouse or the trackpad and click, hold and drag one of the arms, one of the limbs, you can see how you can manipulate the puppet. Whoops, just try not to hurt the poor person. One limb at a time. So when I say it's real-time animation, it is real-time animation for the face and one limb. But if you wanted to move both limbs, you would need to do the recording twice, which is what we're about to do. There is a new feature. There's a new edition of Character Animator coming out very soon, and it's now public. I haven't been able to talk about it for a long time, but now we can. It'll actually track your whole body. So you can manipulate your arms, and both arms will move as well in real time, and that's really cool. That should be coming out soon. All right, let's see what happens when we open up the microphone. So clicking the little mic symbol next to the camera, and now you can see the mouth is reacting to the shape of my mouth, but also the sounds. It picks up the phonics. So if I go, ooh, he has a little circle. If I go, ah, you can see there's quite a bit of detail involved in this animation. In fact, I'm going to do a little recording now of me moving one limb, and my head, my eyes are going to blink, my eyebrows are going to go up and down, hopefully, and we're going to pretend that Dr. Applesmith is standing on Mars. We're going to pretend that Dr. Applesmith was part of the recent launch of the Mars rover with NASA. So let's do that now, a quick little recording. To do that, I'm going to click this red dot, and that little red dot will allow me 3 seconds before the recording starts, and then I can do the performance, something like this. Oh, hello, it's Dr. Applesmith here, and it's lovely to be with you. Believe it or not, I'm coming to you from Mars. Yes, I was on the rover. I'm not quite sure why the media didn't mention that, but anyway, here I am on Mars presenting to you, and I hope you enjoy this session with my colleague, Dr. Kitchen. All right, bye-bye now. Stop the recording. Now, all of those movements and my voice and all of that was captured into various layers on the timeline. If I grab the playhead, this little line here, and just drag that to the side, and then I can hit the play button again, or the space bar will do the same job. Oh, hello, it's Dr. Applesmith here, and it's lovely to be with you. Believe it or not, I'm coming to you from... So you're getting the sense of what was recorded. The only thing is his right arm didn't move at all. So what I need to do now is take the playhead back to the start. Like I may have missed the start here. Oh, hello, it's yeah. For some reason I started too early. I didn't wait for the 3 seconds to finish properly before I started recording, which is very rare, but it's one thing. So if I had more time, I would probably re-record that. But for the sake of this workshop, it's close enough. So what I'm going to do now is I'm actually going to turn off the camera and turn off the microphone so that I'm not re-recording any vocals or re-recording any facial movements. All I'm going to be doing now is moving his right arm. So I'll turn off the camera, turn off the microphone, and then hit the record button. It doesn't matter what I say now because it's not being recorded, hello, but I can do some Dr. Applesmith here, and it's lovely to be with you. Believe it or not, I'm coming to you from Mars. Yes, I was on the rover. I'm not quite sure why the media didn't mention that. But anyway, here I am on Mars presenting to you, and I hope you enjoy this session with my colleague, Dr. Kitchen. All right, bye-bye now. Little wave there at the end. All right, so if I take my playhead back to the start now, and then a quick way of doing that is this little button that's near the play button. It takes you to the start, or the home button probably does the same on a Windows keyboard. But if I hit the play button now, oh hello, it's Dr. Applesmith here, and it's lovely to be with you. Believe it or not, I'm coming to you from Mars. So you can see both arms are now moving, and so I'm pretty happy with that, and I've done my recording. So I'm going to stop the chapter now to see if there's any questions in the chat or if anyone needs some help. In the next chapter, chapter 3, we are going to show you how to bring in a background so that your puppet can kind of work and respond to a still image that will be in the background of the stage. Hi folks, Tim Kitchen here again, and we're up to chapter 3 of this session on Adobe Character Animator. So I'm just going to share my screen again so we can see what we've been doing. We've managed to manipulate and animate the facial features, record the voice and move the arms, all in a relatively simple process. We're now going to bring in a still image and bring it into the background. So to do that, if we go up to File, make sure we're in Character Animator, go to File and go down to where it says Import. Click on Import and then go hunting for wherever that image is located. And I've got it sitting here in a folder that I've already previously made. I've got an image here of the Mars Perseverance rover. So I'm going to click on that JPEG image. It will accept a PNG file as well. Sure, it's a reasonably high res image. If it's tiny, small, little pixelated image that's like 200 or 300 pixels in width, it won't look very good when you stretch it out. So make sure it's a reasonably high res. This one I've actually got as, oh, it's not that high. It's only 96 kilobytes, but it still does the job. So you don't need to have really high res. I'm going to click Import. And that image is now sitting up here in my list of assets ready to bring onto the stage. Now that it's there, I'm going to click and drag it onto the stage. Click, drag, and move, and you can see it sitting there. It's sitting on top of the puppet at the moment, because if you look at the layers, look at the timeline, it's just added itself on top of Dr. Applesmith. And that's fine for the moment. I'll bring it down underneath Dr. Applesmith so it sits behind, because whatever's on top is what you see first. But I want to make it fill the screen. So the way to do that, if you go to the right-hand side, you can see a whole section. This gets a bit complicated here, but if you have a look at the transform options, and you can see there's lots of different ways of repositioning and scaling whatever object it is that you've got selected. So I've got the Mars image selected, and I want to scale it up. So I'm going to go to Scale and just increase the percentage from 100% to, in this case, I'm increasing it to about 162%. And now that's pretty much the size that I want it to be. But it's now well and truly hiding Dr. Applesmith. So this is where I go to the timeline, and I literally click, hold, and drag it down below where Dr. Applesmith was. So now it's sitting behind him. As I said before, whatever is on top hides whatever is beneath. Now, that's pretty good, but I want to reposition Dr. Applesmith and make him a little bit smaller. So the same process, I make sure I'm clicking into the asset that I want to transform. So in this case, Dr. Applesmith. And so I've clicked on the timeline, I've clicked on Dr. Applesmith. And on this side, it's probably going to be playing with the position X or Y. If I grab the X position, you can see he's moving left or right. And that's pretty good. I might just keep moving him. Click, hold, and drag until he appears maybe over here, using the rule of thirds, get him onto the right-hand side. And then if I grab the scale too, I can bring Dr. Applesmith down a little bit and then maybe reposition him with the Y axis. So I'm pretty happy with that. Let's see what it looks like when I hit the play button. Oh, hello, it's Dr. Applesmith here, and it's lovely to be with you. Believe it or not, I'm coming to you from Mars. Yes, I was on the rover. I'm not quite sure why the media didn't mention that. But anyway, here I am on Mars presenting to you, and I hope you enjoy this session with my colleague, Dr. Kitchen. All right, bye-bye now. So before I actually export this as a video, I'm thinking let's let's manipulate the puppet a little bit. We've said that the puppet's Dr. Applesmith. So what I'd like to do is actually get a little A for Applesmith on the pocket of the puppet. So to do that sort of manipulation, you make sure you're in the layer of the puppet, and then you can go up to Edit in the top left-hand corner, Edit, and down to where it says Edit Original. And what this will do, it'll open up whatever application it was that was used to build the puppet. In this case, it's Photoshop. So hopefully you've got Photoshop. Everyone should have Photoshop installed anyway. If you haven't, well, it won't open up anything. And I'll just go to my other screen and bring it down because it's opened up in my other screen. So here is Dr. Applesmith opened up in Adobe Photoshop. Now you don't need to know a lot about Photoshop to be able to do this. It's worth noting that if you want to get into the details, down the bottom right-hand corner in our layers section, you can actually see how detailed this is. There's a folder of layers for his right arm, for his left arm, for his coat, and so on. And that just shows you the order and the detail of how this puppet was originally built. I'm going to make sure I'm in the coat layer. So I'm just opening up in the body folder, the coat layer, just clicking in there because I want to make a change to the coat. I want to go over to all the tools, the Photoshop tools, and find the text tool, or the type tool. I'm going to click on the type tool and then just jump over to his pocket and just type the letter A with my keyboard. Just get it off the pointer. It doesn't seem to want to do it. It wants to give me a little demo. There we go. Show what's going on there. I'll just change that to an A. And now that I've got the letter A kind of there, it's not positioned properly because it's quite small. It's going to be tricky. I'm just going to click and drag it. I'm using the Move tool, the top tool in the Photoshop toolbar, and just positioning it directly over his pocket, right in the middle. Look, if I'm not happy with the color or the font, because I'm in the text tool here, and I highlight the A, you can see up at the top center, there's ways of changing the font, the style, the alignment, the color. All those basic tools that you need when you're working with type are available to you as you click in the type tool. We go back to my Move tool and make sure it's in the right position. Okay, I'm pretty happy with that. So now that I've added the A to the coat, I'm going to save what I've done. It's going to ask me, do I want to apply this transformation? So yes, I will. I'll apply it. And now I'm going to just Alt-Tab or Command-Tab on a Mac. Back to Character Animator, and you can see something's happening. It's processing the change that I made, and it's dynamically linking it. So any second now, we should see that A appearing on his pocket. And there we go. And to show you how cool this is, if I open up my camera again, and if I just reposition, you can see as I'm moving my body, that A is stuck to his coat, stuck to his pocket. That's quite a nice thing. I was working with a school a couple of years ago now in Geelong in Victoria. It was the Geelong College. I made the terrible mistake of saying, hello everyone. They were a group of grade sixes, all the grade sixes from the Geelong College. And I said, it's lovely to be here at Geelong College. And all of the grade sixes collectively went, I thought, what's going on? And one of the boys put up his hand and said, sir, it's the Geelong College. Oh, okay. All right. I won't make that mistake again. So I was at the Geelong College with about 80 Year 6 students, and all of them had MacBook Pros, every one of them. It's like, really? They even had their own little green screen studio. It was amazing. But we were introducing Character Animator to them, and they all wanted to put the Geelong College crest onto the puppet. And they also did some other things. They were using a different puppet. They were using Chloe, which I think is still in there. And they decided, the boys wanted to get rid of Chloe's locks and turn Chloe into Charlie. So they did. They worked out where the layers were, and they got rid of the long hair and turned it into short hair, and made Chloe look a little bit more masculine, and that's fine. And they had full ability to be able to do that. So it was really good to see that they just went on and were incredibly creative, doing things that I couldn't even imagine doing, but because they were so much more imaginative than I was, they were creating these fantastic little stories and animations just with Chloe. All right, so I've made a change to the coat and I've done my recording. In the next chapter, I'm going to show you how we can export this as an actual enclosed video file, an MP4 video file. Character Animator and a number of teachers from the Department for Education in South Australia. So let's just share and find out where we've got up to at this point. We've done a recording, we've added a background, we've even made a change to the puppet itself to show you how that is possible. And now we need to make it into a video. So at the moment it's still an Adobe Character Animator project. It's not actually a video yet. So to do that, we go up to File, make sure I'm in Character Animator, go to File and go down to Export. And we've got a couple of options here. Let me just talk you through the two options. I'll just do that again. File, Export. The first option, export video via Adobe Media Encoder. And if you choose that option, it will open up another application which opens up, it's part of Character Animator, it's part of Premiere Pro. It automatically installs when you open up Character Animator, so you shouldn't have any problem seeing it open up. Once you've got it open, I'll show you what you do within it, but it'll end up converting everything you've recorded into an MP4 video file, or in fact, any video file style that you want, because that's what Media Encoder is all about. It's about encoding video. It's about making videos from maybe one format to another format. And in this case, going from Character Animator into any video file that you want. In this case, I'm going to choose MP4 because that's the most common video type that'll be open up on virtually any media player. The one below that, export video with alpha via Adobe Media Encoder, well, that's an interesting one. That will actually export just the puppet with a transparent background. And you might be thinking, why would I want to do that? Well, if you've got just the puppet with a transparent background, then you can bring that video into something like Premiere Rush, or if you're a more advanced user, Premiere Pro. And then your puppet can be manipulated within a moving background. It can be part of your video. Whereas by doing the first option, you're creating a finished video solution that you can probably bring into PowerPoint or bring into whatever way you want to, but you're going to be stuck with the background, you're going to be stuck with what you've done. But by having the puppet with a transparent background, then you have so much more creativity in terms of what you can bring into the background. So when you saw Rob the robot, those people watching me live, you saw him demonstrating what Blue Jeans is all about. That was because I exported him as a transparent background, and then I could make all sorts of changes to the background because it was transparent. All right, let's do the open export video via Adobe Media Encoder. It'll take a couple of seconds while we do this. It'll ask me to save it first, so I'll save it just as what it's called here, and I'll save it to the desktop because I don't necessarily want to keep it. And now it's going to open up Adobe Media Encoder any second now. Just verifying. Give me time to have a little sip of my water. Any second now. Any second now. I've got a number of applications open, so it's probably going to be a little bit slower. And this is the first time I've opened up Media Encoder for quite a long time, so it's probably saying, why? Where have you been? Any second now. You might want to, if you're watching the recording, you might want to scrub forward until you see Media Encoder open. I'm just going to check if it's opening in the background by doing a command here. It is opening in the background, I can see. There we go. So now it is opening up Adobe Media Encoder. And what it opens up is the queue of the Media Encoder, and it gives you a few options here. So we can look at whether we want to change the format H.264 is the most common video codec in the world. I'd recommend you stick with that. If it doesn't say H.264, you can click the little arrow that's next to it and see all your different options here. What I might do is, the general way I save things is by going high quality 720p, which is going to be an H.264 anyway. Oh, there's the change. If it doesn't say H.264, click on this little arrow here and make it at H.264. And then I tend to always go high quality 720p, and that'll give me a result that I can play on a big screen, but it's not a massive file. It'll still load to YouTube, or just a good management file. So high quality 720p HT. And then it's asking me, where do I want to save it? Well, I'm going to save it to the desktop, so that's exactly where I want to save it. If I want to save it somewhere else, I can just click on that, and then it'll ask me, where do I want to go? And I can go through this window here to choose another location, but I'm happy with that as my location. So once I've checked those settings, I can then go up to the top right-hand corner with a little play button, a little start queue, click on that, and then this little blue line will appear here. It gives me an idea of how long it's going to take to do the rendering and actually go through the process of creating a video out of your animation. It's not taking too long, and now it's done. So what I can do now is go to my desktop and just check and see what's happened. So I'm going to my desktop, find the most recent file that's there, and there it is, scene Dr. A. Applesmith. If I open that up in QuickTime, which is my standard media player, I'll put it into full screen and hit the play button. We'll see what we've got. Oh, hello, it's Dr. Applesmith here, and it's lovely to be with you. Believe it or not, I'm coming to you from Mars. Yes, I was on the rover. I'm not quite sure why the media didn't mention that. But anyway, here I am on Mars presenting to you, and I hope you enjoy this session with my colleague, Dr. Kitchen. All right, bye-bye now. So there you go. And that's a finished video. And what I do occasionally is I'll bring that video into my PowerPoint deck. And I don't use PowerPoint, I use Keynote, but it's very similar. And therefore, instead of me doing all the talking when I'm presenting something, I'll have a puppet do some of the talking. And if you've got a standard slide, you can bring that slide in as your background and then get the puppet. If I just demo this with Character Animator, let's say that this is a slide that I'd be using. I could get the puppet to literally point, well, maybe not this puppet, point to different parts of the slide. And that's quite handy if you want to emphasize certain parts of the slide that you're presenting, or whatever topic it is. It's a really engaging way to work with your students. But even more powerfully, think about this as a tool for your students to present, to construct their learning in a really creative way. They might have a PowerPoint slide that they want to share, but then get a puppet to do the sharing for them, and that can be part of their presentation. So lots of solutions, lots of different ways you can integrate Adobe Character Animator into the learning and teaching process. I'm going to stop the recording of this chapter and just see if there's any questions, comments in the chat. All right, folks, we've had a good play with Character Animator, and hopefully you've had some success with me live, and those watching the recordings, you've been able to have a bit of a play with it as well. I'll just share my screen. So I mentioned at the start, when we go to look at our different puppets, I'll just go up to the Home key at the top left-hand corner. When you click Home, it takes you back. Again, takes you back to where all your main puppets are, so you can start a new project. There is a new puppet here. This one has only just recently come into the list. This was brought in for the new version of Character Animator that's coming out, so that you can manipulate the arms as well, having 2 arms to work and 2 legs and do the whole body in real time. It'll be so much fun when that becomes standard. I mentioned the Characterizer app. So I'm going to click into it now. Feel free to do the same as well. So you're going to the Home button and then clicking Open Characterizer. You'll see all the different demos I've done with this. If we go to where it says Create New Capture.
Welcome to Characterizer. We're going to walk through a short process to capture your facial features. I'll ask you to make facial expressions and repeat specific words. Please say each word clearly and expressively. Keep your face centered in the camera preview image. Click Start Capture to begin.
Now this sometimes doesn't work. I'm going to give it a go. If for some reason on my computer this fails on me, but I'll show you how to fix it if it fails on you as well. I'll give this a try.
Look at the camera lens and make a neutral expression in 3, 2, 1. Close your eyes in 3, 2, 1. Open your eyes and smile in 3, 2, 1. Frown in 3, 2, 1. Make a surprised expression in 3, 2, 1. Repeat after me. Adobe.
Adobe.
Photoshop.
Photoshop.
Lightroom.
Lightroom.
Woo-hoo!
Woohoo! Oh, good. It's worked. All right, so it's captured all of those different expressions and movements, and then I can click the little continue button down the bottom.
Great job! Your Characterizer capture is now being created. Your next step is to pick a style to apply to your capture, and then adjust the settings.
All right, so there's a bunch of styles we can work with. Now, if it didn't work for you, or if it doesn't work, you can manually do it. You don't have to use that widget. You don't have to have that person telling you. You can manually go through all those steps, and it gives you a prompt. It says something went wrong, and then you've got an option to manually do it. So it's fairly simple to override the automation. I'll go to this first option here, and you can see that's what I look like if I apply that style, or if I apply this style. I go with the skeleton type look. Let's go with the superhero look. Oh yeah, that's more like it. There's lots of other different styles you can apply. And you can even play with the stylization and the features and just make it a little bit more detailed. That's what I look like as a little girl here in the painting. Yeah, not so good. What I look like as a dog. Look like Chewbacca. I'm going to stick with a superhero. All right, so now I've got me as a superhero. I'll just reduce the stylizing a little bit here. And then at the top right-hand corner, you can see where it says Generate Puppet. Well, just notice another feature here, head only. That's interesting, so just get rid of the body. Yeah, I might do that because the body looks a bit... Oh, and head turns. That's good. I think that's a new feature. So I'm going to click on those two. And now I'm going to generate the puppet. It's going to take about a minute. And it's now capturing and rendering and turning my features, my face, using the style guide of superhero into a character animator puppet. And in about 30 seconds time, that puppet will appear in Character Animator, ready for me to manipulate, just like I did with Dr. Applesmith. In about 20 seconds time. You imagine kids having so much fun building their own little puppets based on themselves. All right, should be any second now. Importing the artwork. And 3, 2, 1, 1, 3, 2, 1. Here we go. 3, 2, there we go. Oh, all right. So now it's, as I'm talking, you can see I'm talking, my eyebrows are going up and down. I'm blinking, moving my head, and even turning my head as well. I'll just turn on the microphone, set the pose, and do a little recording. Well, I do hope you've enjoyed this session on Adobe Character Animator, and I encourage you, as a South Australian Department for Education teacher, to share this with your colleagues and share it with your students, more importantly, so that they can use Adobe Character Animator for many, many projects in the future. All the best. Bye for now. And if I take the playhead back to the start. Well, I do hope you've enjoyed this session on Adobe Character Animator, and I encourage you as a South Australian Department for Education teacher, and of course I could render that as a video file and send it to you, do what I like with it. So that gives you a bit of a taster on Character Animator at a reasonably basic level. There's a lot more to it that if you really wanted to get involved in the streaming side of it, and you can get into a lot of detail, but for most teachers and most students, just what we've covered now is more than enough to focus on, and you can always expand your knowledge further with lots of tutorials that are out there on the internet. So in the next chapter, we're going to start showing you some resources that you can go to learn more, or to go back into the things that I've been teaching you, and some other resources too that relate to Adobe in education. Tim here again. We're up to Chapter 6 of this session on Adobe Character Animator with the South Australian Department for Education. Let me share some key resources with you. So I'll just jump into my share screen, get rid of Homer there, and I'm going to bring in another video for you to have a look at. And this video was created with Adobe Character Animator, and if you've been to my sessions before, you would have seen this video as well. And of course, I've just mucked up my list of videos because I was looking for the Homer one. So let's see what we can find out. Here we go. And so Rob the robot's going to come back. Here he comes now, and he's going to share with you some key resources. Those of you who are live in the chat, I'm going to throw in those resources into the chat for you to get access to. Over to you, Rob.
Hi there, it's Rob the Robot here from the Adobe Education team. Thank you for being involved with this Adobe in Education event. On behalf of the team, I would like to share some follow-up resources that will not only benefit you, but also your colleagues and wider education networks. Use this QR code or link to find out more about the Adobe Creative Educator program. This is a badging program that involves multiple levels. To obtain the Level 1 badge, you need to do the Creativity for All course on the Adobe Education Exchange. The focus of this course is creativity in education rather than Adobe. You don't need to be an Adobe expert or even a regular Adobe user to get your Level 1 badge. Inject Creativity Live is a live and on-demand show on the Adobe for Education YouTube channel. It is recorded every second Wednesday evening at 6:30 p.m. Australian Eastern Time during the school terms. Each show features a practical demo from a teacher who is an Adobe education leader. The demo is of a practical Adobe application and how that teacher is using it in the classroom. Each show also features a thought piece from a leading education thought leader. The show also features me. Let your colleagues know about Inject Creativity Live and join the live audience every second Wednesday night. This QR and link take you to our contact form. Use this form to make sure you are on the email lists for our monthly updates for Australasian teachers. This QR and link takes you to the Australasian Adobe in Education Coming Events site to keep you and your colleagues informed with the wide range of professional learning opportunities that are freely available to all educators in any curriculum area and level. We hope you enjoyed this session. Please do share what you've learned with your colleagues and
Thank you, Rob. And I'll just stop sharing there. All right. Lee's asked a question, can we change our voice when recording a video like this robotic voice? Yeah, I did that in Premiere Pro. There's lots of different filters you can add to your audio layers within Premiere Pro to manipulate it. And I just did a search for how do you create a robot voice? And it said it was a 15-year-old American boy, as it usually is. when you're searching for something on the internet. So to use the phalanger effect, which is a guitar sound effect, and the pitch controller. So I just my pitch came up a little bit, added the phalanger effect into Premiere Pro, and I had the robot voice, which is really cool. The other option is to use an application called Adobe Audition, which is an audio manipulation tool, an audio recording tool. So once you've got your character as a video, you can then bring it into those other tools to make those audio changes. You can't make the change within Character Animator itself. You need to bring it into a more of an audio or video editing tool. And yeah, so while we're still sharing resources, let me just share my screen again here and jump into just a set of slides, because I've got some tutorials on Character Animator that I'd love you to be aware of. Working now, which is good. First of all, the Help Center, helpx.adobe.com. It's like a one-stop shop for any help with any Adobe product, and there's some really good tutorials there on Adobe Character Animator. So helpx.adobe.com is where you get access to the Adobe Help Center. These are my tutorials on Character Animator. In fact, I'm going to bring them up. If I make that a live link here we go. So it's jumping into them now, and I'll bring them into the chat as well. Character Animator Edu Tips. I'll do that a little bit later. So the link, just bring up the link again in case you want to do it. It's a bit.ly/edutips-CHAN for Character Animator. bit.ly/edutips/CHAN. And when you get into them, let's have a look at this first one. Bring it onto full screen. Welcome to this edition of Adobe EduTips, which is about enhancing presentations with digital puppets using Adobe Character Animator. This is being recorded in April 2020, and I've asked some friends of mine to join me for this episode. Let me first introduce you to Chloe.
Hi everyone, I'm Chloe.
Red Monster.
Hello there, I'm Red Monster.
And many of you would have already met Dr. Applesmith.
Yes, hello everyone, I'm Dr. Applesmith.
I've asked these built-in characters from Adobe Character Animator to help me with this episode. They recently got together to create this video story about Adobe Character Animator.
Adobe Character Animator is really cool. Thanks, Red Monster. Adobe Character Animator is part of the Adobe Creative Cloud set of applications that is available in many schools and universities.
It allows you to create real-time animated sequences with either built-in puppets like me,
or with puppets that you build yourself with Photoshop or Illustrator.
Like me.
Dr. Kitchen, you did say this was our sequence.
Oh, sorry. I'll leave you to it.
The reason why it's so easy to use is that puppets mimic your movements via a webcam.
As you move your face, your puppets move with you.
As you talk, your voice is recorded and the puppets mimic your mouth.
As I said, Adobe Character Animator is really cool.
Character Animator also has a great feature called Characterizer that can turn anyone's face into a digital puppet in seconds.
Oh, cool. Does that mean I can turn my face into a digital puppet?
Red Monster, you are already a digital puppet.
Oh yeah, good point. Anyway, Adobe Character Animator can be a simple-to-use and very effective application for K-12 and higher education teachers who are looking to provide a creative and engaging way to communicate curriculum content.
It's also great for students at any age who are looking for a new and creative way to share their knowledge in any subject area to their teachers and classmates, especially if they're not so keen on standing in front of a class or being in front of a camera.
That's right, Chloe. It gives some students the opportunity to have a voice when they may be very shy or have a disability that prevents them from communicating normally. As I said, Adobe Character Animator is really cool. Back to you, Dr. Kitchen.
Let's get started with Adobe Character Animator. And the rest of it is literally what I just taught you, but in that tutorial. So you might find that a helpful resource to share with your students or your staff members. And just to help you out, those who are with us live, I'll bring that link into the chat. In fact, I'll grab the Vimeo link of it. That's going to be easier. Oh no, I can do this. Just using Acrobat, Adobe Acrobat, I can manipulate the PDF. So I'm going to just copy that link and bring it into Blue Jeans. Oh, Abigail's already got it in there for us. Thank you, Abigail. Very kind of you. All right, so let's just show you a couple more resources before we finish off this session. And just come back to full screen. Oh, come back to full screen. There we go. And the Adobe Education Exchange is amazing. We've got now 40,000 teachers as of this week, 40,000 Australian teachers, I should say, who are part of it. We've got nearly 1 million global educators out there who are using it to share content and ideas and inspiration. If you do a search for Character Animator, in fact, let me do that right now since we have a little bit of time. I'm going to jump into the Adobe Education Exchange, edx.adobe.com. I'll put that into the chat so you can get instant access to it. And if we go up to this section here called Browse, and I'm actually not signed in, so I'm not going to sign in, just to show you what you can do without even signing in. You can get a sense of what's there. I'll go to Browse, and there's no cost involved in terms of signing in either. If I did a search for maybe a subject area that I was teaching, I'll just stick with all subjects for the moment. Education level, whichever level you're focusing on, and then a product. And in this case, I'm looking for Character Animator. Is it going to come up? There we go. I'll do a search for Character Animator. And now it's filtering out all the resources to just the ones that involve Adobe Character Animator. And when you get involved in the Education Exchange, you get to see who the key educators are that are doing these amazing resources. Oh, look at this guy here and this one here. Oh my goodness, I'm famous. And you can click on to see what their resources are. They might be video tutorials, lesson plans, curriculum ideas. And that's just a nice way of browsing through various resources on the Education Exchange. The other great thing to do is to go to the Discover section. When you go to Discover, you can then start looking, a little bit slow for me, you start looking at the free self-paced courses. And if I go to View All, and I'm still in Browse, I'll just go back to Discover again. Now, it's probably because I'm not signed in, but you can go and View All, and you can see all the incredible courses that are available for you. And if I was signed in, I'd be able to just search for Character Animator ones, but it'd be hard to find that right now. But that gives you a sense of what the Education Exchange is all about. And of course, we've got this incredible community now of educators that are there to help support you. Different badging programs like the Adobe Creative Educator program, just a very basic level 1 for any teacher in any curriculum area. Again, as it said in the video, you don't have to be an Adobe expert at all to get your level 1 badge. And I encourage all teachers to at least enroll and have a go at level 1, because it's all about creativity. We had 15 professors and associate professors, PhDs, help us build the course and add the content to the course. So it's not Adobe necessarily teaching about creativity, it's world experts in education teaching you about creativity, which is really cool. And it's a great course. Let's just jump back to this one. We've played that resource. We've looked at HelpX. There's the Adobe Creative Educator program. There's the link if you missed it before. It's up there in the chat, adobe.ly/ACE, Adobe Creative Educator. The Inject Creativity Live event, I do it every second Wednesday. We're having a bit of a break over the mid-year holidays that are coming up for most of Australia. But we'll be back again on the 14th of July. You can always go to the Adobe for Education YouTube channel and find old shows that are there, and every so often we do one on Character Animator, but we do feature a different application in every show. We've got a summit coming up, and I'll make sure you get access to this link too. Abigail, if you're able to put that into the chat, that would be great. It's a bit.ly again, bit.ly/adobe-edu-summit-21. And this is an open day for any teacher at all. You don't have to be part of our community programs at all. Just if you've got an interest in digital literacy, communication and creativity, we encourage any teacher to join us on this day. We've got some special guest speakers. We've got some Adobe education leaders who'd love to share their passion of our tools in both primary, secondary and in higher ed. It's going to be a fantastic day of learning. We're going to do a little bit differently this year. We're going to be an hour on, half hour off, hour on, half hour off, hour on, half hour off, and just join the parts of the day that you think would be most relevant to you. Thanks, Abigail. If you want to find out what we're doing in terms of events coming up, I think I've thrown that link already into the chat, but I've got it easily accessible here, so I'll do that again now. And this is just where we keep a record of all the free events that we do that are online that you can just join at any time, rather than just the Department for Education ones for any teacher. And we have a Facebook group. So go to the facebook.com, if you're a Facebook user, go to groups, facebook.com, groups, AUSAEL, and we post to that nearly on a daily basis if you're interested in getting some inspiration and ideas from a community. I think we've only got about 500, nearly 600 people who are part of that group, part of that community. Again, they're all passionate and interested in helping you. And just to finish off, we've got a new slide now, Creativity for All. We really believe that creativity is for everybody. It's everywhere. It belongs to everyone, no matter what curriculum area you teach. It's what connects us all. It transcends borders. It opens up worlds. It crosses divides. And we are in the golden age of creativity. And with our tools, there's nothing you can't do in terms of creativity. So use that HelpX to get some support and learn these tools a little bit better. As Sir Ken Robinson said, we don't grow into creativity, we grow out of it, or rather we get educated out of it. So please don't be that teacher that drives the education system to the point where creativity is just not there. Be that teacher that helps engage your students, that encourages and fosters creativity in any subject area, because that's a skill that we're looking for in young people as they leave the education system. We want them to be creative. Try to encourage that in your classes. Teachers work tirelessly to bring students amazing learning experiences, and Adobe's here to help you be successful. So there's the QR code or the link to get onto my newsletter list. Once a month. I've got one coming out today, actually. It went out to Victoria and New South Wales today, and tonight it's going out to South Australia. So if you quickly join that list, I'll get you onto that newsletter for the June edition of it. We do ask for some feedback. The Department for Education would like some feedback from you. So there is the link there. Abigail, are you able to get that link into the chat for people to follow, and so they can do their feedback and to get a certificate for this session? And the next session we're doing for you will be with Brian Chow. Brian's one of Adobe's solution consultants, and he's a terrific guy. And he'll be doing a session on Adobe XD, the design thinking tool for designing and prototyping and sharing of app designs and websites. It's a really cool application. And that'll be on Tuesday, July the 27th. For those watching the recording, I'm going to stop the recording now, but I'm going to stay around for a few more minutes for those who are with us live if they've got any questions, comments and thoughts. Those watching the recordings, we'll catch up with you another time, hopefully live next time. See you later.